أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وسلم السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. All praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Peace and salutations upon the beloved Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, upon the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, upon the friends of Allah, upon the whole ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I don't know, for some reason, last night I was preparing this particular speech, and I was up till 1 in the morning, and I was typing and editing and saving, and then when I came to save the file, it just wouldn't save for some reason. It just would not save. And then I lost everything, you know. It was about 3-4 hours of work. And just in technology, this is what happens. So I just lost everything, you know, in preparing the speech. Then I thought, okay, you know, it wasn't meant to be. Then there's half of it was saved, so from before, but it wasn't edited or anything like this. So then I thought, okay, so I'll just come in now, and I already set it there. And when I clicked it on to open it, I lost a file on my iPad. So I'm thinking that, oh, you know, there's either the shaitan doesn't want me to do this particular topic or speech, or something's going on here, you know, which is beyond my control. But alhamdulillah, I've managed to open it now, so inshallah we'll see if you can benefit from this. But there's certain guidance in there, alhamdulillah, you know, if you all, you know, keep the points in our head. There's 5 main points I'm going to talk about. And 3 other points is how to be qualified to meet Hazrat Khizr radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And 2 points will be in regarding how did Hazrat Khizr radiallahu ta'ala get that status, of the status that he has. So these are this is the most important, because if Hazrat Khizr radiallahu ta'ala anhu can do so much damage to the shaitan, imagine if there's many similar to him, imagine how much damage can happen in the world today. You know, according, the shaitan's not going to be happy. So this might be one of the reasons where shaitan's like trying to get rid of me, get rid of the speech somehow. Anyway, inshallah, we'll start now. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded the believers that fear Allah and obey Allah. So any way in which a person knows anything he knows about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he should fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, learn about the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the question is, how much fear and taqwa should a person have? So, for example, if somebody has too much fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this can be a barrier as well. For example, a person should have fear and hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not just fear, complete fear, where the person thinks, okay, he's committed a sin, now he's so fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that it takes him to the point where he becomes distressed and he becomes demotivated. So up to the point where he has fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but he has also hope as well. That when he asks for forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he knows that Allah is the most merciful, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can forgive the person as well. So fear and hope that the person should have. So how much fear should a person have? Up to the point that it stops him from committing the sin. So when a person is going to commit the sin, up until that point, then the fear should be there up to that level. Because after that level, it can be harmful for the person as well. And that's why you see people, when they do commit a sin, they don't want to come to the masjid. Rather they go the opposite way. Rather they play into the hands of the shaitan. Because they commit a sin, they think, okay, I've committed a sin, how can I show my face to the people, to the brothers, this, that, and the other. But he has to realize that a person as humans, will always commit sin. It might be major sin or minor sin, it will happen. We're going to fall. It doesn't matter whether you've been on the path for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, but there'll come a moment where the nafs will, attack you, and sometimes you might give in. But always realize that, progression, and the person who is successful is not the one when he commits a sin and he lies down, but the one who, doesn't matter if he commits a sin, but he gets back up straight away. So he doesn't give the shaitan opportunity to play with his mind. So he does repent to Allah subhanahu, and he has a regret in his heart, but up to the point that he stops everything. Maybe the regret and the things might be in his heart for a few days, and then it should be taken out completely, and he should start where he was and carry on. So there should be certain amount of fear, but majority of the time the person should have hope and always think that I'm not an angel. Angels are pure, the Anbiya alayhi salams are pure, but we're just human beings, and we are going to commit sin. So even the Prophet ﷺ's dua in a hadith, we mentioned that they would make the dua like, Ya Allah, give me taqwa, such fear, Ya Rabbal Alameen, give me such fear, such level of fear that it becomes a barrier between me and actual disobedience. So even the dua of the Prophet ﷺ is teaching us that the fear should be up to that point where it stops you from committing sin. So a story which is mentioned, well, the Mashaykhs have mentioned in regards to once a young person used to go to the graveyard, and he used to go on his own, and he used to go to the graves, and he used to talk. He used to talk about, one day I'm going to enter into you, and he used to speak to the graves and stuff like that. So, and this used to help the person, it used to help the youth person. So one day his friends asked him what was the reason why he does this. So he said the grave remembers us many times. Many times the grave remembers us in a day. So why shouldn't we remember death as well? So what they did was they played a trick on this person, and they hid in the bushes. So they hid in the bushes, then this person went to his normal routine, and he was saying that, I will have to die. So he started speaking to the grave again. He says, I will have to die once. I will have to come into this old grave. I will have to come to you once to enter the grave. So he's like speaking, and then he hears a voice from the bushes, one of his friends, saying that, why not then come today? Why not then come today? So the youth started crying, thinking that, and ran home. So quickly ran home. And he kept on repeating himself that, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. This is a true story. This is not like obviously made up one. So he kept on saying, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. So his friends came and comforted him, and his parents said to him, look, his friends said, look, this was just a trick. that we played upon you, and we're sorry, and this, and that, and the other. But he wouldn't take any heed at that time. He's saying that, no, 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 I'm going to die, I'm going to die. And then 8 days later, he passed away. So this young person, he passed away. So what the Mashaikhs are saying is, when a person has to face the reality, it is completely different. And what they're saying is, well, really, us as human beings are really making a joke out of everything. And most of the time, how we deal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just actually superficial or artificial, just a part-time concept. So just think, if we had to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He passed away today and we had to leave this world, how would we behave? How would our day go? Would we do what we are doing, or would we change something during the day? What would we do? So this is what the Mashaikhs is actually saying here, that we're living our lives as though we're not going to die. We're living our lives as though we've got 20 years left. We're living our lives as though we've got 30 years left. But if you, in reality, like the youth, if he passed away like this, if you were going to pass away like this, and we had 24 hours to live, how would we change? Would we neglect our tazkiyah, or would we straight away pick out our book from home, get it off the shelf, and quickly start revising and see, well, I'm going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now, so I need to quickly repent and start doing my tazkiyah again? Would we leave our zikr, our meditation? And most importantly, would we stop conveying the message to the people? So these are the things. So we're artificial because we're putting everything in regards to the deen to one side behind us, and we're putting everything in regards to the world in front. So when we put the world in front and the things that actually matter for us in the hereafter, we're putting it behind. And we think that, we're with Hazrat Sahib or we're with the Mashaikhs and we'll be saved. We hear many stories of people being saved. But do you not hear the story of a person who, in his grave, when the Prophet ﷺ was walking with the companions, there were two people who were getting punished in the grave. One was in regards to slandering, and the other one was in regards to the urine splashes. Now you tell me one thing, is urine splash that the person has, is a big sin? Is a major sin? It's not really a major sin. But to teach the ummah, to teach the people, this person, the Mashaykh mentioned that this person was made an example. So how do you know that we are not going to be made an example through getting punished in the grave? By being with the Mashaykhs and we never paid attention to what they were saying, by not acting upon what they said. How do we know that we're not going to be one of them people that's going to be used as an example in the grave? That this person was with a great person, but he neglected it. He neglected the fact that he had a chance to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but he didn't, even by giving the opportunities, even everything was put on the plate, he didn't want it. How do we know that? We don't know that. So this is the reason why we should strive and purify ourselves as much as possible. At least try. Don't just sit around, don't do anything. At least try. It doesn't matter if you fail every single day. It doesn't really matter. That's not the point. The point Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us is trying. Allah is the one who gives success, but we have to try. So the Mashaykhs gave an example in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called Hazrat Isa alayhi salam on the Day of Judgment, because many Christians will be questioned, why did you worship Hazrat Isa alayhi salam and believe that he was a son of God when he was not? So the Christians will be called, And they will say, Ya Allah, we really didn't know. It was Hazrat Isa alayhi salam who said to us that I am also God and I am the Son of God. Na'udhu billah. So the Christians will say this to him. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does justice, He executes His justice, so He knows the truth. So Hazrat Isa Islam will be called, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, "Oh my Prophet Isa, these Christians, these people are saying that you, Isa, son of Mary, did you say to the people, worship me instead of Allah?" And Imam Ibn Kathir in his tafsir, he mentions, just by addressing Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, just by this name, just by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calling him, from every single hair upon his body, every single hair, blood will pour out. Just by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calling Hazrat Isa alayhi salam's name. This is the fear that the Prophet alayhi salam had of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the more a person knows about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more he knows and the more he learns about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more he will know the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The more he will learn, the more fear he will have, and the more piety he will acquire. He will get more piety. So this is the reason why it's important for us to know more and more about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How do we know more about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Learn the 99 names, go through the meanings, and then implement these meanings, implement this, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is merciful, then you show mercy to mankind as well in regards to your own status, the way you can do it. So Hazrat Isa alayhi salam will say, "Oh Allah, I have not any right to say this, nor I have ever said this." But again, these people will say, they will dispute this. So imagine them going against their own prophet, the prophet that they said that they believed in. Because that day it'll be like this. That even, it doesn't matter, save yourself. It doesn't save yourself from the fire. It doesn't matter who's in front of you. And these people were going against their own prophet. So they're saying, "Oh Allah, I have not right, or I have ever said this." But they will dispute. They will say, "No, he said this." So when people meet difficulty, they leave Anbiya alayhi salam and they rely on making people happy. You know, when a situation comes where the person he has a choice whether to follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the people are saying certain things, then the person will choose what his parents are saying, what his friends are saying. Then they will leave Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they'll follow their friends and trying to make them happy instead of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these people, Christians at that time, will not even say that we should respect Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. He is the Prophet of Allah and we should not say this. Because they know Allah SWT knows everything. So what's the point of even putting this forward? But in their minds they're thinking that it doesn't matter who's in front of us, as long as we get saved, that's fine. And in the Quran, Allah SWT mentions that the people's mindset will be that if the whole of the creation get punished, I get saved, I'm happy. That's the mindset of the people will be on that day. If the whole of the creation, when they get punished, it's fine as long as I get saved. So Hazrat Isa alayhi salam will say that I have not said this. They say you have said it. So now they will say, Allah SWT say, call for a witness. So Allah SWT will ask, you're disputing, you claim you have got any witness? Hazrat Islam said, Ya Rabbul Alameen, my witness are the ulama and the ummah of Muhammadiyah who came after me. So Hazrat Isa Islam will say that these are my witnesses, the ulama and the prophets, the Prophet ﷺ who came after Hazrat Isa Islam. So the ulama and the people of Ummat Muhammadiyah will be called, and they say, do you witness about Hazrat Isa alayhi salam that he is saying the truth? And they will say, yes, we are the witness. And then the Christians will say, well, how can they be a witness? They wasn't there at that moment in time. So Allah subhanahu will ask the Ummat Muhammadiyah, how can you be a witness? You was not there at that time. They will say, yes, we wasn't there, but we read your book, which is the Quran, Ya Rabbal Alameen, and your book is the truth. So, in the book, they mention about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when they came and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam conveyed the message and they told the truth about Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, and they believed in all this. So then after this, Allah subhanahu will execute justice upon them people. So the point that Mashaikhs are trying to say, convey to us, is that it's a serious matter when a person will have to face justice. So even a person who are claiming they're in wrong 100%, and Allah subhanahu knows this, yeah. But even then, somebody made a claim against them, and they had to face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine on that day, even though we might have done everything right, but somebody's making a claim against us, and we have to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and answer these questions, even though we might think everything's clear. But then what's going to happen then? So this is what they think is a serious matter. When they will have to face justice, they're not saying, the Mashaykh are not saying that they will have to face punishment, but just justice. Just standing there, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deciding between the two people. When they have to face the reality of death and the reality of the hereafter, the matter completely becomes different. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran in various places that different things that will happen on that day. Women will lose their pregnancy, the father will run away from the son, and the mother will place the baby down up to the extent they will stand on the newborn baby, accusing the newborn baby. Imagine that, a newborn baby and standing on there. And that's the reality, that's what's going to happen. It means on that day, their minds are completely different. Their mindset is absolutely, completely different. They will not know what they're doing because all they're worried about is themselves, that I don't get punished. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that what you're earning for tomorrow. Now those people keep on saying tomorrow, I will become pious tomorrow, or I will do my tazkiyah tomorrow, I will do my sheets tomorrow, I will do my zikr tomorrow, I will become righteous tomorrow, I will give dawah tomorrow. Yeah? The people who keep on saying these things, tomorrow will never come for them. They will never get this opportunity. Tomorrow won't come for these people. Because tomorrow, in the word of the Quran, is also the name of the day of judgment. Tomorrow in the Quran means the day of judgment. So either your death will come or the day of judgment will come for this person who keeps on saying these things tomorrow. So it's today, not tomorrow. Do what you have to do today, not tomorrow. So amongst the friends of Allah, I'd just like to briefly mention about a great wali. And I thought this was very important because we are always looking for certain ways to improve ourselves, and at the same time we want to know. So for example, if somebody, obviously today's day and age, you see all the time on Facebook and on social media in regards to how to become rich. Yeah, you see it all the time. First it was like non-Muslims showing you how to become rich, or you get these ads, this person from McDonald's or from Bolton has made so much money, you can make it as well. So you see these ads all the time. And first it was non-Muslims doing this, now it's Muslims as well. Like there's so many people on Facebook to say, oh, then because they've got Muslim names, say, oh yeah, maybe he's our Muslim brother, he'll make us rich. So everybody's in it for something, isn't it? Nobody's going to show you how to become rich like this. Nobody's going to reveal their secrets. If you believe that, then you believe anything. You can believe that pigs will fly. So nobody will reveal their secrets. Everybody keeps it, unless there's something in it for them where they can make money in regards to like making books and stuff like this. So why would he want to tell you when he can make money himself? So same way, for example, this is not the case with the friends of Allah. The friends of Allah and the Prophets ﷺ, they show you ways that where you can reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala quicker. And they show you their secrets, they tell you their secrets. This is the secret. If you want to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the secret. Last time I mentioned about 10 points where if a person follows these 10 points strictly, then he'll become a high-ranking wali Allah, high-ranking friend of Allah. So the Prophet ﷺ and the friends of Allah, they show you the way, they show you the proper way. Okay, this is how you do it. So one of them is Hazrat Khizr radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So he lived in the Ummah. Obviously, he was born around the time before Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, but he's also classed as the Ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he lived in the Ummah of Rasulullah. He lived in the Ummah of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, and he was the Sahabi of Sayidna Musa alayhi salam, and then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he's from the Ummah Muhammadiyah because of the previous Anbiya alayhi salams, their shari'ats, their ummats and their time of prophethood has expired, so it was for limited time until Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came. So Hazrat Khizr has been there for a long time, and he's still here as well. So in this ummah he holds a great status, as well as the Sahabi of many Anbiya alayhi salam. We find him that he is the teacher of many great awliya, like for example Sayyidna Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmullah, Sayyidna Shaykh Abdul Aziz Dabbagh rahmullah. So at one time Sayyidna Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmullah was under the guidance when they were doing mujahidah, Sayyidina Shaykh Abdul, when he was trying to purify himself. So you can see the mujahidah is a must for everybody. Even Sayyidina Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmullah, it's clear when they're mentioning here that they did, and we know the history, we know the story, that they did mujahidah. But when it comes to us, when we have to do a little bit of mujahidah, we just, I can't do this, I can't do this. Everybody has the ability to do mujahidah. It's simple. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed this upon us. Why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala burden, say, let's just say 5 prayers, fasting, yeah. Why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us to purify ourselves if it was a burden? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not place the burden upon the people. If they can't handle it, why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala burden the people? So when the person has the ability to do mujahidah, for example, if a person goes to work and he has to stand up all day, for example, he's working in a shop, or he's doing security, whatever, say, standing in a shop for, sometimes he has to stand for 8-9 hours, or sometimes a person goes to work driving for 10 to 12 hours a day. So that is more of a mujahidah than sitting for 20 minutes doing the zikr. You see? So the ability is there, but it's channeled the wrong way. So if you channel it the right way, then you'll see that you can do many things as well in regards to it. Because one is that we're not trying, and second is we're not relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're relying upon our own abilities. And this is where we can go wrong. Because everything is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All the power, all the strength is from Allah. So you got to have to believe this for you to achieve it. Otherwise you'll never achieve it. If you think it's from your own ability, then it's never going to happen. But if you think, no, I'm going to put my effort in, and whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends me, inshallah, and then you'll see the difference. You'll see how you will move forward as well. So it was Sayidna Khizr radiallahu anhu who gave guidance for 3 years for Sayyidina Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani rahimahullah. So Tariqa Muhammadiyya has a special link with Sayyidina Khizr radiallahu anhu from the point of view that he was one of the teachers and the mashaykhs of Sayyidina Shaykh Abdul Aziz al-Dabbagh rahimahullah. As you know, they had many teachers, and one of his teachers was Sayyidina Khizr radiallahu anhu. Often people are confused, even the scholars, that is he a wali or is he a prophet? It's a confusion. But for the people who have met Hazrat Khizr radiallahu anhu, for them there is no confusion. And Sayyidina Abdul Aziz Dabbagh rahimahullah has mentioned this as well, that he was a friend of Allah, he was a wali, not a prophet. So he is the wali from the awliya of the ummah, and he has the same powers and the status of a ghost. The power that the ghost has, Sayyidina Khizr has this. I mean, we don't even know ourselves what power the ghost has. We hear certain things, but you know, I don't think we've even touched, you know, a little bit about what the ghost is. So we just hear, like, for example, in the books of Sayyidina Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, all the things, all the miracles that happen and stuff like this, amazing miracles that happen by Sayyidina Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani rahimahullah. But I think that's just touching the surface, really. You know, the ghost has the power and things we can't even understand. I don't think we'll even be able to comprehend in our minds the power that the ghost has. So, so he has this power that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon him. So the stages of ghosts of any time, meaning ghosts come, and the second one come, and the third one come, but so for example, the ghost comes and he goes, and then the next one comes and they go, but his status is such that he'll always be the ghost. You know what I mean? His status, he has this status, special powers that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him. So he cannot be a normal person. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Hazrat Musa alayhi salam to be in his company, you know, obviously we all know the famous story when Hazrat Musa alayhi salam was asked, you know, is there anybody more knowledgeable in the ummah in this current time? And Hazrat Musa alayhi salam replied, they had the knowledge and everything. Which obviously at the time, if you think about it, any prophet alayhi salam who is born at that time, in that era, obviously they will have the highest knowledge. If you think about it, in every way, shape or form, yeah, they will. But these were certain special knowledges which was a little bit different. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, there's a servant amongst my servant who has special knowledge, and this special knowledge is well from you. So these were some of the qualities of Hazrat Khizr radiallahu anhu. But the mashaykhs are mentioning that if a person wants to be qualified to meet Hazrat Khizr radiallahu anhu, he has to do 3 things. There's 3 qualities he has to acquire. So if a person wants to meet Hazrat Khizr radiallahu anhu, it doesn't mean that after he's done the 3 things that he's going to meet them. It means that at least he's qualified. You know, for example, when a person applies for a job, he has to have certain qualifications to apply for the job. Otherwise, they'll just throw his application out of the window. But if a person has these certain qualifications, and then at least in his application form, they might consider him, and they might in the future might give him the job, because he's qualified. It's just a matter of preference now, whether this person is being picked or not. So the number 1 is that the person should not have a grudge, a bad opinion of anyone of the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's number 1. So any grudges that person has against anybody, from the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're not talking about family members. We're talking about the whole ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's number one. So take everything out, make a fresh start, and just rectify the situation. The second condition is that he must not practice bid'ah, but follow the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So bid'ah is something which opposes the sunnah, which is against the sunnah, which is new invented method, which replaces the sunnah. So we got to understand the bid'ah. What is bid'ah? So if it, obviously you get people saying, oh brother, this is bid'ah, this is bid'ah, this is bid'ah. Everything that you do, they say this is bid'ah. But then you got to understand what is the actual bid'ah. So it's a new invented method which replaces the sunnah or goes against the sunnah. This is bid'ah. If it supports the sunnah, it's called bid'at hasana. So this is a good bid'ah. If you oppose the sunnah, it's bid'at sayyi'ah. So there are many types of bid'ah. So there is not just one bid'ah. There's different types of bid'ah. So there's bid'ah mustahab, and the ulamas they have made different categories of bid'ah. So they said, okay, this is one part of bid'ah, this is the second, this is the third. The main thing is that if he opposes the sunnah and actually it goes against the Quran. So if this types of bid'ah, so this is the bid'ah that we're talking about here, that any bid'ah that goes against the Quran and against the Sunnah. But if it doesn't and it supports the Sunnah, then alhamdulillah, it will be a good bid'ah, or it can be a good bid'ah. For example, when offering the Taraweeh prayer, at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they used to offer Taraweeh, but they used to have groups. So there's like groups of 5 people, groups of 10 people, groups of 7 people. So they used to pray around the masjid, but they used to pray in groups. They didn't offer one full jamaat together, all of them praying together. And then when Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala, once they all got together and they prayed Taraweeh together, as we know, and then Hazrat Umar radiallahu mentioned that this is a good bid'ah, this is the best bid'ah. So Hazrat Umar radiallahu was happy at that time as well. So every bid'ah is not wrong. So when the Prophet ﷺ says in the hadith in regards to bid'ah, which people just pick it up and then they say they make their own understanding of this. This refers to the bad bid'ah, which goes against the sunnah, which opposes the sunnah, which doesn't support the sunnah, which replaces the sunnah. These are the types of bid'ah that the Prophet ﷺ is talking about. So people tend to take their own understanding and then implement it upon everybody else, that this is wrong, this, that, So Taraweeh was actually supporting the sunnah. It wasn't replacing the sunnah. It was coming up with something extra and so supporting the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So the third condition is not to have any want or love of the dunya in the heart, or any love of the so the love of the dunya means anything that takes you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it can be dunya, doesn't mean money, because as you know, we all know this point anyway. Now, there's many companions who were rich, many friends of Allah who was rich, you know what I mean? Says Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahimahullah was rich as well. So it doesn't mean that dunya means, for example, that you're neglecting your prayers because you're at work and you stop your prayers. You're stopping your zikr, your meditation, for whatever reason, something stopping you from doing it. So that's your dunya. So your dunya can be laziness. Your dunya can be laziness because you're not doing your meditation, your zikr. Your dunya can be your work. If you're not conveying the message, your dunya can be your family. So all these different types of dunya is not just dunya is not regarding wealth and earning money. Dunya is anything that is stopping you from reaching Allah. So it can be your mobile phone. A person can spend a few hours on Facebook and WhatsApp, but he can't do 20 minutes zikr. So that's your dunya then. So then they've got these new phones back out now, the Nokia 3310, I think it is, the old ones. You know, so maybe the back, so they're producing them. So why not buy them? You know, that will help you. Actually, it does help. You know, it's an addiction. You know, phone is an addiction. Seriously, you know when they say about drugs and alcohol and all this, but phone is one of the biggest addictions ever. Imagine, you know, every few minutes you just put your hand in your pocket. Okay, if there's no WhatsApp messages, then you just want to flick through social media or what's going on social media. If it's not social media, Sky Sports News, okay, what's going on there? And then you put your phone down, and then 2 minutes later, you get the phone out again, and it's the same thing. And some people even like playing games on it, so they're constantly playing games. You know, it's so annoying. Sometimes you sat there and you just hear bleep, bleep, bleep. What are you doing? Oh, I'm playing a game. You know, and then they put on vibration, and then you hear the vibration on buzz, 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 buzz. Oh, it's so annoying. So that's what I'm saying is that it's an addiction. And then they came out with the rule that not to drive, obviously with the phone, even on the loudspeaker. You got to have a cradle, you got to put it on the cradle. And even then, people can't help themselves. How many people have just got caught? People got banned and everything, and they're still getting out their phones and still getting caught red-handed. Because this is what addiction is. Addiction is that your mind doesn't think the right way. Your mind thinks the wrong way. It's like, you know, a druggie, does he want to be a druggie? A person who drinks alcohol, does he want to be an alcoholic? He doesn't want to be an alcoholic. He doesn't want to take drugs. But what happens is their minds are tuned in such a way and shape and form, the addiction takes over that they can't control themselves. They can't control themselves. So this is the thing in regards to addiction. Anyway, so finally, inshallah, we'll get to the last point now. So how did Hazrat Khizr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, they mentioned their secret and their story. Obviously, to know about Hazrat Khizr is not written in any book, so it has to come from somewhere. So people get to meet Hazrat Khizr radiallahu anhu. Obviously, they performed the 3 qualities and they waited patiently. And when they got chosen to meet, they met Hazrat Khizr radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And then they can take the story. How did they manage to get this? And obviously, Hazrat Khizr radiallahu want people to benefit. So the story comes forward, and then we get to learn about it as well. So Hazrat Khizr radiallahu anhu, at his day and age, when he was about approximately 10 years old, between 10 and 12, the people used to worship idols. So similar story with the Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam. So they used to worship the idols there. And Hazrat Khizr radiallahu had ilham. You know, at that time, people used to get ilham, messages from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they weren't prophets. They weren't prophets in Islam. So even the people at that time, normal people used to get these messages from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he used to get ilham from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him not to worship the idol like the others are doing. So what he did is he didn't worship the idols. Rather, he went and told them not to worship, the false idols. So you imagine that, a 10-year-old boy, and he has got the guts to go to, older people, and telling them that this is what you're doing is wrong. So imagine somebody saying, so let's just take a scenario perspective on this, because we're not going to understand if you say, oh, well, he's only worshipping idols and this and Imagine now somebody coming into the masjid now and telling you your religion is false and don't worship, what you're doing is wrong. Imagine how you'd feel. Imagine at that time how you'd feel if somebody walked in and said that to you now. So imagine him as a boy, imagine a 10-year-old, imagine one of my students came in now and he said that. What was the first thing he'd do? Yeah? I know, if I said that, I know what I would get. A backhander, So imagine that at that time. So he's telling them, not only he's telling them not to do it, he's insisting. So when they told him don't say it, he's saying even more. So he's going around telling everybody. So imagine like this, imagine not only coming to this masjid, now you've gone to Noor Islam, New Medina Masjid, and you've gone everywhere now, you're going everywhere telling everybody. Yeah, you're getting the whole of Bolton, all the Muslims, you're making them angry. Just imagine that. Imagine the anger and the rage that the people had at that time against Hazrat Khizr radiallahu anhu. Did he stop? He didn't stop. He carried on saying it. Don't do this. Yeah. And when somebody opposes you, then you see the fruits of it. Not when everybody agrees with you. When you give dawah and somebody opposes you, there's more reward in that. There's more closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that. Rather than if you say to somebody, brother, this is the course of purification, mashallah, it'll benefit you, it'll take you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I say, yeah, brother, yeah, everything's, yeah, understand. Jazakallah, takes the leaflet and goes. Yeah. The person might even leave the leaflet there, and he's just been nice to you. He's just been nice to you. But rather, if somebody opposes you and he starts asking questions, is this really the truth? Will this take me closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I don't disagree with this point. You know what I mean? Rather than these type of people are really interested because they're asking the questions. The people who are not interested, they're not going to ask the questions. They're going to say, yeah, and then just go. So sometimes when people ask questions is good. And secondly, when the person opposes you when you're giving dawah, when you're calling somebody towards the deen, when somebody opposes you, there's more reward in this. So you should think that every time when you go out on dawah, that you hope you meet some people like this. And also it's the sunnah as well. It's the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. How many people oppose the Prophet ﷺ? So he started giving dawah to everybody. Yeah. So what did they do? Yeah. They couldn't stop him, so they grabbed him and then they tied him up to a tree. So they tied him up to a tree, and then what happened was he started speaking again, giving dawah. So then they got a piece of cloth and wrapped it around his mouth so he couldn't speak. So what happened was, while he was there, the people came to have a look. They're all looking, yeah, we've got him now. He can't do anything. So they all came to have a look. And suddenly the tree started speaking. Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the power to the trees and the plants and everything around. They started speaking, worship only one Allah, worship only one Allah. Don't worship the idols, don't worship the idols. So now the trees are speaking. So then they thought, this is how shaitan works, yeah. Rather than them humbling themselves and saying, Allahu Akbar, this is a miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We'll throw our idols away and we'll worship one Allah. The shaitan put it into their brain, and they did this with the Prophet ﷺ as well, that this kid is a magician. You know what I mean? He's doing magic. You have to take him inside the house. So the shaitan put this into their brain. So what they did, they got Hazrat Khizr radiallahu anhu, a young boy, and took him into the house and tied him there inside the house. So while he was inside the house, then they came to have a look to see what was going on again. and suddenly the animals came from everywhere to meet him. The animals came and they started giving the shahada as well. Now the animals are speaking. They're saying, worship only one Allah, worship only one God, don't worship your idols, break your idols. So they're like, oh. So again, yeah, they're saying, no, this young boy, yeah, his powers are next level, meaning that he's got these type of powers that, we have to do something even more severe. So Hazrat Khizr at that time mentioned as well that in terms of food, then the birds used to bring some food in the beak and they used to feed Hazrat Khizr radiallahu ta'ala. So they were never hungry at that time. And they mentioned that during that period of time that they met, they had their great opening, the Fat. Imagine a boy of 10 or 11 and getting the great opening, the Grand Fat. They received this at that time as well, and they met the Prophet ﷺ, the spirit of the Prophet ﷺ. They met Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, and they got given the famous dua, the durood that we pray, Allahumma ya Rabbi bi jai Sayyidina Muhammadin Abdullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that one, ijma bayni wa bayna Sayyidina Muhammad Abdullah fi dunya qabla akhirah. So they received that at that time as well. So then what they thought, okay, we have to do something now. So they thought, okay, we'll take him, and they tied him up and they threw him in the river, in the sea. So they thought, okay, we've got rid of him now. We'll get to our idol worship. So suddenly the fishes bring him up and bring him back to the shore. Now the fish start speaking, don't worship, only worship one Allah, this, that, and the other. So they were like, they didn't know what to do at that time. So they thought, what should we do now? Whatever we do, and they started getting punishment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was sending punishment upon, upon the villages and everything. And there was, all the blame was going on to Hazrat Khizr radiallahu ta'ala. So imagine that. And then what happened was they put him in a sack and put rocks inside and threw him back in the sea. Yeah. So obviously he'll drown now. So they're thinking that he'll drown. But then what happened was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the sea, obviously if you underneath the sea, then you need air to breathe, isn't it? Yeah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it such that the water for him was breathable, that he could breathe inside the water. So this is what happened to Hazrat Khizr radiallahu anhu. And then eventually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dealt with the people of the villages, and then obviously we know the rest of the story about Hazrat Khizr radiallahu anhu, how they met Hazrat Musa Islam and so forth. But one of the points that they mentioned was that during that period as well, when they met the Prophet ﷺ and everything, they learned the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. And they mentioned that this is the same path that we are on, the same path, the path of Tariqa Muhammadiyah. The path of the Tariqa Muhammadiyah it started from long before all the Anbiya alayhi salam, from them. It came from them. From Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obviously, then all the Anbiya alayhi salam, they practiced this with their ummah as well. So it's not something new, and this is what they practiced as well. This is what they learned. So two things which made Hazrat Khizr radiallahu anhu special. Two things. One thing, which we neglect continuously is dawah. Because of continuous message opposing whatever came in front of them, whatever came, they just did it. They didn't care. They just carried on giving the message, And the second thing was helping the creation. So as you can see, when they were with Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, there's certain incidents that took place where they helped the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So two things, dawah and helping the creation. And finally, what the mashaykhs are saying, that you don't have to be a scholar to convey the message. You know, in whichever way, form, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you, convey the message from there. You know, they're mentioning about the companions. If you look at the life of the companions, some were doing business, some were poor, a lot of them were poor actually. Some were working in farms, some were servants, you know. So the companions, they were there. But what did they have in common? They all conveyed the message. They didn't just convey the message. They didn't say, okay, I'll give 1 hour a week. You know, I'll give 2 hours a week. They didn't do that. The 7 days a week was continuous dawah. And in regards to the money, they would sacrifice their money as well. They wouldn't, like, you know, oh, I need money. You know the famous story of how, when the Prophet ﷺ asked for an expedition, you know, who's willing to donate, and Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq took everything. Hazrat Umar took half the wealth. And many other companions, Osman Ghani radiallahu anh, gave so much. So when they did something, they did it with the heart. Not, oh no, I've got to give dawah today. Oh no, you know, this brother's going to ring me today. Or it's Tuesday. Or, you know, I'm going to get a phone call. You know, I've got to go, 1 hour, 2 hours. And half-heartedly, the brother goes out giving dawah. Now you know everything relates to that one thing. Why do the mashaykhs emphasize dawah so much? Yeah? Do you think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs our dawah? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need our dawah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can use anybody to give dawah. Even the non-Muslims. You see, in these countries, you know, where people are getting attacked, majority of the work who are doing this, they're non-Muslims. You know, they're funding and they're giving food, clothes, everything is non-Muslims. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need us to give dawah. The reason why the mashaykhs want us to give dawah, yeah, first and foremost, look, where are we? What are we in? You know what I mean? Who are we with? Think about it. By not giving dawah, you know, we're showing our teacher up. We're showing our teacher up, isn't it? We're supposed to be on the haqq, on the truth. On the day of judgment, how would our teacher present us as students? We couldn't even follow, we couldn't even pass the message on of the Prophet ﷺ. And we want to be there with our chest high, oh, we're the followers of mashaykhs. How can we be the followers of the mashaykhs when we can't do this simple thing? And secondly, it's only going to elevate your status. In the hereafter, it's only going to elevate your status. Because they mention that in regards to the people who give dawah, imagine a person doing zikr all his life, he's praying the Quran, he's praying nawafils, and the person is giving dawah. And maybe this person might reach maybe the second heaven or the third heaven, whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has destined for him. But the person who gives dawah, his Jannah will just be one below the Anbiya alayhi Islam, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's for your own benefit that you're giving dawah. You know, you're making your own hereafter. Your hereafter in paradise where you're going to live forever. And one thing a person will regret, is not conveying the message to the people. In the hereafter, in the grave, when he dies from this world, he'll regret this. I wish I conveyed the message. Conveying the message doesn't mean, okay, support the person who's conveying the message. If you don't want to speak, you don't have to speak. At least be with the person. You know, it's like they say, innit? You know, when a person has a job to do, if he's one man on his own, he finds it difficult. Yeah, but if there's another person with him, yeah, he's not doing anything, but at least he's supporting him. He's there to keep him company. Then he makes his job a lot easier. You know what I mean? So even if he goes playing as a supportive role, helping, or if you have any new ideas, just pass the ideas on. You know, attend the meetings, the mashwaras, and help the people. because this will come under compassion, the helping of the people, isn't it? So there's two types of helping. One is helping the person of his personal needs. Compassion upon creation is one, to help the person of his personal needs, that the person needs help. And the second is helping him for his hereafter, which is even a greater compassion upon the people. So inshallah we'll finish here now. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.